Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So check this out. This is the upgraded version, the advanced version of the very popular HUBSAN H501S FPV GPS return to home advanced little quadcopter. So what we're going to do in this video is do an unboxing and a quick little setup, and then also do a flight test in the same video when I take it out to the park, put it through all of its paces, and also do a little pros and cons at the end. So anyways, I will have the link on this down in the description of the video like I usually do, so you can check out more in-depth specs and also what the current pricing is on this guy. But so this should be the black version. The previous version I did, just the regular standard version, was a white version. So it's kind of cool to have two different colors. And let's see what the box looks like. So just the quad in the front, and then on the back you're seeing that it has this advanced controller, very similar to what the H501, I believe it was the name of that one, came with. Their more larger 350 size quadcopter. It looks like it has a very similar controller. But 20-minute flight time, follow me function, altitude hold, automatic return to home, headless mode. It's got GPS, 1080p, and it's a 5.8 gigahertz FPV system. So without further ado, let's unbox this thing. So this is the first time I unboxed this guy here, so I'll be doing it with you for the first time on this version at least. And here is the H501 Advanced. So nice looking gold and black drone here. We got this little camera guard here, a little film to protect our camera. And it looks just like the other one, the regular version, the non-advanced version. Basically the same exact drone, just has a different controller, but we'll just look at it anyway. So see if we can get this battery out real quick here. And we're getting the 7.4 volt 10C 2700 milliamp battery. The first H501S I did do a battery mod where I did a parallel cable, and I was able to put a second battery on the bottom and connect them both together, so I got double the capacity and I got 30 minutes of flight time. So if you want to check out some of those videos, you can check out my channel. But that's basically the drone. Little SD card slot on the side, some venting on the bottom, and here's our brushless motors, and then we've got our light cups kind of incorporated into our landing gear here with our little rubber feet. And that's basically it. And the difference here is going to be the controller. So digging further into the box, here it is. So looks like the same controller as the H501 quadcopter from HUBSAN. We've got all these little rubber guards here on the tips of the toggles and the control sticks, which actually could probably be repurposed for something in the hobby. Looks like those might be useful. Anyway, here we are, and the screen is going to be smaller than the original version, but at least we get a sunshade included here, and it also has this little plastic film on the screen. Well, there goes a sunshade, so we'll let that go off, and there we go. So taking off the guard there, the film, and we have a nice matte finish screen. Definitely smaller than the other controller, but this controller will give us more range out of the box since it has an antenna on the outside. The base version H501S just has the antennas built into the controller, and so this will give you more range right out of the box. So got our antenna here. This is going to be our FPV antenna, our panel antenna. I'm just going to screw this on, and what you want to do is you want to be facing the HUBSAN wording here out towards the quad when you're flying, and this is our control range antenna. So you basically have these two like this, and you should have a really good range on this one. Here's our toggle switches. These switches will not be in use, I don't believe, in this quad here. For the H501S, they were for gimbal. There was two channels on the bottom of the quad that you can connect your gimbal to, and on that quad you could do pitch and roll or another thing if you connected something up to that other channel. Anyway, there's all our menus. We've got our battery compartment here. And let's go ahead and put that on the side for a sec and see what else we get in the box, and then we'll get back to that controller. So it looks like we're getting 2 sets of self-tightening, just screw right on propellers. Don't have to have any kinds of tools to put these on or off, so that's great that HUBSAN is giving us 8 propellers. Always awesome that quad companies give us 8 propellers. Here's a little tool for the motors here. You can see how this fits perfectly in here. So if your propellers get too tight, just pop that in there and it helps you take off your propellers because there's not much motor here to grab with your finger. So cool little tool there they include in the box. Here's our charger for our battery, and it's just a simple little 2S charger, nothing special, and it looks like this is the Euro style plug here. We're gonna have to get an adapter for this version, or if you already have your own charger you can use that, which is probably what I'll be doing. And then we have a little micro USB cable, and this is going to be what you're going to need to do. Let me put this on the side. This is going to be what you're going to need to use to do kind of firmware upgrades. So in this one, if we do open this up, you can see over here on the side, maybe kind of hard to see because the sun's going down, but inside there is a little micro USB port, and you plug that into your computer and turn your quad on and download the ground station software, and you can change the parameters in this one or upgrade your firmware or downgrade for that matter if you wanted to. But anyway, that's basically in the box in a nutshell, everything. Let's go ahead and just check out the manual real quick. Disclaimer warning and the regular manual, and it's telling us what all the controls are. This one, when it does boot up, it requires a compass calibration. So at least in the other version it did. But anyway, here's all the controls. You have your GPS switch here on the controller, so that would be your GPS off and on to go into like altitude hold or GPS hold mode. Headless mode switch is the second one over here, and then these two here, this will be your return to home, and the B switch is the follow mode switch. So you flip that and it should lock in and do a follow me function. Now this controller has a GPS built in, so that's how it's able to follow you, kind of like the H501S regular version also had that built in. And then if you do have the HUBSAN goggles or any other types of goggles that can use this little port here, you could go ahead and put some goggles on and it'll have a video output here if you wanted to. Little speaker, little light, and then we have exit, up, down, and enter key on the bottom of the controller. We have our trim buttons here, and you can see that the throttle stick is springs to the center. Of course, if you don't want to use the screen, you just go ahead and fold down this little sunshade, and there you go. You can just fly line of sight without having the screen there if you want to. Battery caddy in here, and it takes 8 AA batteries. It is unfortunate, and I mentioned that in my last review of the H501S, that you have to have a screwdriver to take this off. But you take this off, there's just a little caddy in here, you pop in 8 AA batteries, push the caddy back in, pack that up, and you're ready to go. So without further ado, let's just try to put on one of these propellers. And what I noticed with this one, HUBSAN is funny because it actually has the motor spinning in different directions than a lot of the normal direction of quads. These guys actually have the top edge of the propeller spinning into the side on their quads. So usually when I'm talking about quads, you're wanting the top edge to spin into the rear or the front. Well, HUBSAN spin into the side, so you have to put them on a different way. Anyways, these just are self-tightening propellers, so what I would do putting it on is just, you know, screw it on and then just hold the motor a little bit, give it a little crank down so it's kind of tight. And then if you have trouble taking it off, you can always use the tool that they provided, and that's basically what this is for, to hold it while you loosen it. So you're going to want to put this little tool in here and then just give it a little push to loosen it there and take your propeller off. Anyway, that's how you take off and on the propellers. Let's go ahead and charge this thing up. Without further ado, get in the park, do our park flight, and see how it flies. Okay guys, so we're here with the H501S X4 Hubsan advanced version with the controller at the park, and we're going to do a thorough park test on this one. Now if you missed it, I did several videos on the H501S non-advanced version with the other controller that doesn't have these antennas already coming out of the controller. It's the little bit cheaper controller, but I wanted to do a test on this one just to see the difference. Maybe we're gonna have some range difference, so I'm gonna be making multiple videos on this one as well. In the my original videos, I did double battery mods. I did like a 1.5 mile range test, which was 3 miles round trip with a dual batteries, and it seemed to have no problem doing that. So I'll be doing that same kind of test coming up here pretty soon, not in this video, but in some videos to come on the advanced version, just using the stock antennas, and see how far we can get on this one. So let me go ahead and start this thing up and get this thing all booted up and ready to go. So first thing we want to do is open up our FPV screen here and turn on our controller. Make sure our antennas have the HUBSAN insignia here facing forward, and this one is about like this, perpendicular to where the quad's going to be. We're going to go ahead and turn on the controller. Turn on the quadcopter just by plugging it in here. Make sure you have a little micro SD card, of course, in the quadcopter. And that's just pushing in right there. So quadcopter's on. It's going ahead and initializing. So I'm just going to let it do that. I probably shouldn't have actually moved it. Let me go ahead and redo that. Rule of thumb, you don't want to really move the quad initially when you first plug it in. You want to hear it chime up before you start kind of moving it around. So let's let it chime itself up. I'm seeing the orange lights blinking there. Looks like the ESCs all check themselves. So now's a good time to go ahead and push your battery wires in and close up your battery door. There we go. And so let's see what we're seeing on the screen here. Just to let you know, in this one I am going to be recording the Fat Sharks, just to show you that you can record the video that's coming from the craft, but it's not going to have this telemetry. This has some kind of a telemetry radio built in between the craft and the controller. So if I pick up the video directly from the craft, I'm not going to have all these numbers and telemetry. It's just going to be the raw video, but I'll have that up on the screen too, so you can see how that works if you wanted to try it. Anyway, on the screen here we're seeing it needs to calibrate compass 1. So what we need to do is keep it level and just do a rotation. Doesn't really matter actually which way you rotate. So I'm just going to rotate clockwise a few times. Now it's saying calibrate compass 2. And what that means is we want to put it like face down and then start rotating it like this. And we should see that calibrate compass 2 go away when that's done. And rotating, it's still not going away. Let me try counterclockwise. It's still saying calibrate compass 2, unfortunately. Let's go ahead and do it this way, facing the sky. Calibrate compass 2 is not going away on this one. Let me try sideways and rotate it a few times. That's not going away. So if all else fails, maybe try one of these. Rotate it in all different directions. And I'm still not seeing that calibrate compass 2 go away. That's kind of unfortunate. Okay, there it goes. So it went away. So eventually I just kept spinning it vertical like this, and it finally went away. So hopefully that process was completed correctly. Here we've got 12.1 volts on the screen there. And on the very left in purple, we've got 12 satellites, and in orange we've got 9 satellites. So one's going to be the drone and one's going to be the controller. So that should definitely be enough satellites to take off. And it's in GPS mode, so that's GPS on. GPS off is going to be altitude hold. and we have to be in GPS home, or GPS mode, for the return to home to work. So with this one, if you lose connection, like turn off the controller, or if it goes out of range, it comes home. Or if you flip this switch up when you're in GPS, it will also come home. Okay, so hitting record or hitting enter on the controller actually starts the recording of the video, so that's recording as well. Fat Sharks are recording. So let's go ahead and launch this thing and see what we can do. Don't want to be in return home, I want to be in GPS hold, and let's try and arm it. So both sticks in to the bottom middle, arm it. I'm gonna launch straight up. Okay, so I just slowly pushed it up, and we're just gonna let it hover here. Bring it down to about eye level. Now you're gonna see that there's some wind coming from this direction. You may be able to hear it in the microphone here. So we're getting about 5 miles per hour coming that way. So that's gonna affect the stability a little bit. But let's see how this thing does. So I'm not gonna touch it for a while. We're just gonna let it hover. It should be using its barometer and its GPS. GPS is gonna lock it in this horizontally, and its barometer is gonna keep its height vertically. So you can kind of see it fluctuating a little, and that's normal for a barometer, but it's still doing a pretty good job. It doesn't have any ground sensing radar or camera or sonar or anything, so overall it's doing pretty good. And I can see myself in the camera, and that's kind of what you can expect. I think the camera, is it straight ahead, maybe slightly down, straight ahead kind of, but what's happening is the wind is trying to fight that wind, so it's tilted. You can see, kind of see how the whole quad is tilted to fight the wind. If I was to yaw it in this direction, the whole quad's going to try to fight that wind and stay in its GPS point like that. So doing pretty good. And again, I'll have that video up on the screen so you can see the quality of it and how it's shaking and stuff. So just pressing the up button here in the menu, I'm kind of turning off and on the telemetry. So if you wanted not to see all these numbers on the left, you could always do that. And then pressing down doesn't seem to be doing anything. Anyways, let's go fly around in GPS mode. So I'm going to go full stick forward. Whoops. Actually, it looks like we're in headless mode now. So let me try to get out of headless mode, whatever I did to get in headless mode. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so switch A seems to be headless mode. I forgot that. Okay, so let's go ahead and fly around in normal mode. So here's full stick forward, and that's how fast we can expect it to kind of go in GPS mode. Full stick forward. You can see that when it reaches its maximum speed, it kind of levels off and just maintains that at its maximum speed. So real docile in GPS mode, and you can hear how quiet this thing is. Whoa, well, that was kind of weird. Looked like maybe a GPS glitch, but at least you got it to see it close up. Anyway, here's what we can expect. So that was GPS mode, and again, trying to remember which direction I launched from. I think I was facing this way. Let me go ahead and switch it into headless. I believe it was this A button. And if I push forward, nope, it was the B button, sorry. Nope, B button is follow me. Okay, so you saw how it turned towards me? And now it's trying to track me. And there's a GPS in the controller here. So it's gonna try to track me. So with this one, it's kind of cool. It doesn't give you a minimum height. You can be this low and have it track you at this low. A lot of quads make you go up like, you know, 15 meters or something, 15 feet actually. So this one's kind of cool. You don't have that limitation. So let's see how good it kind of tracks us. So it's not going to be turning. This quad does is it locks onto you, and then it just moves, you know, left, right, forward, back to follow you. And you can see how it's slightly losing track of me, and it's having some glitches. The first one also did that. You see how I'm over more on the right of the screen now, way over here. So not entirely that accurate. I'm gonna go out of, well, that was a weird little glitch. Let's go out of follow me, get away from ourselves a little bit over here. Let it kind of lock in its GPS there, and then try that again. So I'm going to flip up. Let's go a little higher. Seems to be slightly dropping on its own. A little higher, and then switch the B button up. And you can see how it's turning. There we go. So it's facing me, trying to keep me in the center. If I walk towards it, it should back up. So what it did is it's remembering that distance from me, and it's trying to maintain that distance. So walking forward makes it go backwards. Let's see if I walk right, and you can see how it's following me, and it seems to have that same problem that the H501S non-advanced version had with that glitching, where once in a while you'll see it do like a yaw glitch, and you can probably see that in the camera sometimes. So anyway, back and forth, just trying to follow the transmitter. It's doing a well enough job. Cool. And to get out of that, really, as soon as you touch the controls, it cancels it. So I just touched the yaw and it canceled that. If you do the same thing with pitch and roll, it'll also cancel that follow me. And you gotta pull the B switch down and back up to go back into it. Now I thought A was headless mode. Let me try that again. I don't know, maybe I launched, yeah, it is headless, but I kind of forget where I launched from. So you see how me pulling back and forth is not going forward and back. It's not corresponding to the nose of the craft. So it does have headless, but I kind of forget which way I launched from. So apparently it's not pertaining to the transmitter, it's pertaining to what direction it was facing. So it looks to me like it was facing that direction, I guess, when I did launch it. I kind of forget, but anyway, that's the headless for you. So what'll happen is, let me just get in the right spot. What'll happen is if you yaw and I press forward, you see how it's still going away from me and back towards me. Even though I'm yawing, forward is still forward, away from me, back is still back. Right is still right, left is still left. That's what headless mode is. Press down on the A toggle, we're back in normal GPS mode. So let's try altitude hold. So when I switch this GPS off, so I'm right over the fat shark, so it's probably not going to give you the best picture right over. So let's get a little bit over here, because what's happening is the signal's radiating that way and the antenna's picking up better from the side. So see how this does. Anyway, still recording on the screen on the craft as well, and we're going to go into altitude hold. So flipping this GPS button down, let me drop it down a little bit. Flipping this, turning the GPS off, it will drift in the wind. See it drifting towards us. So the wind's coming from this direction and it's drifting with the wind. Now look how much faster we can fly in this though. You know? So you want to fly faster? Go ahead and switch into altitude hold. But flying faster with this one sometimes makes this one a little wonky, similar to the non-advanced version. As I flew quick, it started picking up altitude on its own. But look how much faster you can fly. Pretty quick. But now let's see how it's going up on its own. A little bit wonky at times. That's what you can expect from this one. Not too bad. You just need to adjust your altitude throttle if you're going fast. But anyway, that's it, and let's see what happens when we flip into the GPS while it's drifting towards us. The wind just died down, but let's let it just drift towards us, and then I'm going to flip this GPS switch up and you're going to see it lock. That's pretty cool. It's got a really good GPS lock there. What I kind of forgot to do was mark my home position. I seem to always forget that for some reason. but I believe I was right next to these fat sharks. I was like right around here when I launched. So I'm gonna just put this little leaf here, and that's gonna be our basic launch point. So we'll see how the return to home returns back to that point. Speaking of return to home, let's do a little quick return to home. Now this thing should give us 20 minutes of flight. I've been flying, it says on here, recording, I believe for 10 minutes. So we still got another 10 minutes of flight. So while we're in flight, let's stay on GPS mode. And I'm not going to get the best range in this residential area, but let's just see if we can get a ways away. I'm going to go over this school over here and just see how far we can get. See how the FPV looks. The FPV is still looking nice and clear. What you want to do is you want to have it kind of perpendicular to the craft. I'm just going to stay over the school because it's Sunday and there's no school in. So I'm full pitch forward, cruising. It's telling us, you know, all of our telemetry, our altitudes, 14 meters, distance from us, 160 meters. Starting to get a little fuzzy. It's telling us our pitch and roll rates. So I'm going to stop it here, and I'm going to press, starting to get a little fuzzy, and that's going to happen in the residential area. When I do my range test, I'll not be in a residential area. So I'm going to flip up the home button. Let's see what happens. Okay. So it should be coming back towards us. And I'm still looking at the video. It looks good. With this one, you can't yaw. So let me switch out of return to home. You see how the video kind of stopped? You could see the craft stop. The video didn't stop, but it jolted, pitching down, meaning it stopped. Let me try this. Let me turn the craft more towards us. And I want to flip into return to home like this and see what it does. So it's turning to face away from its launch point. So unfortunately the first one had that too. That's a little bit of a con. I kind of wish it would have pointed towards us when it returns to home. So a little bit of a con there. You can see it coming back. And let's see kind of how accurate it was. As long as it lands kind of around those fat shark goggles to the right of them a little bit where I put that leaf, it should be fine. So keep in mind though, when you do hit return to home, it's going to face away from its return to home and come back in. There's no way you can change that. When I'm coming down, I can't use any yaw, and I can't pitch and roll it. Looks like the bees are after this one. The bees really like this one for some reason. The sound of it, you see all these bees. So it's landing. Okay, looks like we might have injured a couple bees, not too bad. So I believe I launched from that position, and it's about 4 to 5 feet away from that position. So not great accuracy on that one, but I'm not gonna diss it too much because this is using a smaller, more compact GPS unit. Anyway, you can see the props are still turning, so to disarm those, you do have to go in and down and in, or I believe down and out as well. I think it arms and disarms. Let's see. If we arm it, oh yeah, we have to be, so that's another good thing too. If you're in return to home, it won't let you arm unless you flip out of return to home. So let's try that again. Let's try arm going down and out and disarm. So you can disarm both ways, down and in, down and out. Cool. So looks like we put it through most of its features, had a little bit of a slight range test. Let's just go ahead and keep going until we use up the battery. I don't think this one has any auto launch, so you have to launch it manually. I'm full throttle up, and that's what you can kind of expect for maximum launch speed. I don't think I did a full throttle up and down test while it's flying, so let's go ahead and go full throttle up. Let me get it down here. Full throttle up now. So it starts off a little slow and then gets a little quicker. And its maximum speed going up, it looks like it's I couldn't even see that. Speed meters per second, that didn't really change. Looks like that's going to be the horizontal speed. So I'm going to go full stick down now, and this is what we can kind of expect for it coming down. So it's not telling us our vertical speed, unfortunately. It's just going to tell us our horizontal speed on this screen. Letting off the stick. Takes a couple feet. It kind of remembered where its position was, and it's kind of getting back to that location when I let off. So it just took a couple feet to get back to its elevation after it overshot it. Anyway, let me try that speed again in GPS mode. I want to look on the screen, and I kind of want to just see how fast it'll go. The wind's going to be to our side. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to go in that direction, get up a little bit so we can go over the school. And I'm looking at the S on the left of the screen. Full stick forward. Speed is 4 meters per second. 4.3, 4.2. Let's face into the wind. I'm directly into the wind. And I can only go about 3.6, 3.7. Let's go with the wind. I'm directly going with the wind, and I'm going 4.8, 4.5 to 4.8 about. It's a real smooth flyer in GPS mode, really enjoyable. And that's kind of what you want to be in when you're getting video too, because this thing is not video stabilized. So I'd stay in GPS if you're trying to get some video and just fly nice and smooth. For an example, let me go up a bit and just show you in this kind of, 5 mile per hour winds, what kind of video you can get. I'm just gonna go straight. Let's get up a bit. So I heard a little beep on the controller, and that means that we're on our first low voltage failsafe. Did you hear that little beep? And that hit basically 7 volts. Well, it's just giving us a little bit of a warning. It's hitting like 7 or 6 point something volts. I'm gonna get up here, and it's flashing on the screen actually, aircraft battery low. So when you hear that, time to come in. There it is, so aircraft battery low in red flashes. So let's do a quick little yaw and just see what kind of a panoramic we can get. I'm recording on the card up there. So we're at 18 minutes now of flight and record time. I think the flight's going to be a little less because the record time, because we landed a couple times. But anyway, West Maui Mountains over there. You can see the quality of the picture and how stable it's going to be in some wind. Let's keep yawing. I'm just barely touching the left stick and just giving us kind of a panoramic. And of course, you can't pitch the camera up and down. That's unfortunately on this one. So no video stabilization and no pitching up and down with the camera. So to do any camera pitching, you've got to push forward like I am now on the craft to pitch down a little bit. Anyway, I don't want to get too far away. Let me go ahead and do a return to home again. There we are. So we're way up there. How high are we? We're 55 meters above us. And it's flying great. So you're going to have a lot of flight time in this. We're at 19 minutes. No problems yet. I really recommend this kind of craft for somebody's first GPS quad. It's not too expensive. You'll get great range with this advanced version controller. You don't have to do any modifications. If you wanted to, you could put some bigger antennas up on here, get a little more range. And again, I will be doing that range test coming up in another video, the same way I did the original H501S. I'll be doing maximum range with video connection. Speaking of video connection, I hope the Fat sharks are still doing okay. Anyway, yeah, so I'll be doing multiple videos on this advanced version, just like I did the original. Dual batteries, range test, and flight time test. I was getting 30 minutes with dual batteries. Let's flip into a return to home. So it's going to face away from its home point, and then it's going to back in, like it's doing right now. So this is where the fat sharks might get a little bit fuzzy, because the best signal is not going to be that for them receiving over the top. The best is out the sides of this circular polarized cloverleaf antenna. So right now the fat sharks may be a little fuzzy, but on this screen here, nice and clear, because I'm pointed right up at the craft with these two antennas. So it's coming down now. I don't see its horizontal, I mean its vertical speed, so unless it is only like 2 or 3 meters per second, because the S is 0.2. Maybe it is. Maybe it only goes like half a meter per second coming down. Anyway. Oh, we got some bees again. The bees really love this one, man. Poor bees. See how far away this one is. Oh, sorry bees. Get away from it. They're kind of getting shredded up in the propellers. Okay, anyway, the last landing was about here, and so we're a couple more feet, you know, to the left of that. So that was actually a little more accurate since we launched from like right here. That was just a couple feet away, so much more accurate. Turn off the propellers, turn the propellers back on. Gotta click down the return to home again, of course, and let's just fly around till we completely run out of battery power. I'm full pitch up, or full throttle up. I'm gonna go over here, get away from our home point, just hover here and see what it does. I kind of forget, I'm trying to remember what the standard version does. I think it does kind of auto landing at a certain battery level, and then you can still adjust the throttle a little bit to force it up, but at a certain point it will just completely land wherever it is slowly. Now we can hear the battery is beeping more frequently because it looks like it's hitting 6.5 volts. Looks like it's slowly going down. Let me see if I can force it to stay up. Yeah, so it's in its first phase low voltage landing where it's slowly dropping, but look at this. So see how I can just force it up? Those bees are still following it. You can see them there. So I can still force it up if I wanted to. Get away from there, bees. It's gonna shred you up. There's like 3 bees still following it. Anyways, it's getting a little harder and harder to push it up. And there we go. So I'm full throttle up now, and it's just gonna land. And that's at like 6.3 volts, I believe it was, where it just wouldn't let me push up anymore. One thing I wish this thing would have done is shut off the propellers automatically. And I hope they can fix that so it does, because it's just for safety reasons. And if you left it like this, like say it landed somewhere where you couldn't get to it, and it did this for a while, you'd really kill your battery. So I really do wish it would just shut off the propellers. So I'm just going to shut them off manually there. Anyway guys, it's still recording, and that's 24 minutes of record time. And this one's really good at hitting that 20-minute mark in my last review of the original version. I'm going to hit enter, and that stopped the recording. Cool. So I didn't get any pictures, but I did on my last video of the original version. If you wanted to go check that one out, you can see the pictures. Anyway, really happy with this one, you know. Aside from, let's go ahead and run through a little bit of a pros and cons. Okay, so the cons are going to be, it backs into its home position, and you cannot alter that unless possibly you go into the software, which I've never done on this HUBSAN. I've never actually gone into the flight controller software, but I think you can. Not sure if you can change which way it faces to home, but you can update it, downgrade the software if you wanted to. So a little bit of a con there, how it comes back in reverse and you can't control it at all and return to home. Even if you wanted to change the position where it came back, you'd have to switch out of return to home, which is this button down, and then manually land it. Let's see what else. It flies really nice and smooth in GPS mode. Keep in mind the maximum speed in GPS mode is only about 5 to 5.5, I believe, 5 meters per second, which is, I think that's around 11 miles per hour or so. Let's see what else. The altitude hold works good. Go into altitude hold, and if you turn off the GPS mode, go into altitude hold, you can fly much faster. You know, it's not using any GPS to slow itself down, so you can fly it'll just keep going faster and faster with the wind until it reaches its maximum, you know, aerodynamic speed, of course. But it does get a little bit strange when you're in altitude hold and you're flying fast. It seems to want to lift itself up or drop down a little bit, and so you're going to have to be ready to respond with the throttle. So I wouldn't really recommend that unless you have good FPV visual with it, or a good line of sight visual if it's in altitude hold only mode. But really impressed with the flight time on this. This seemed like around 20 minutes. I'll go ahead and check out that video and compile all the time I was in the air, and I'll have that flash up on the screen now so you can see the exact flight time it was in the air. And just one thing to note, this thing, the SD card is just slide in. It doesn't like click in like most. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but it just kind of pushes in. It doesn't really give you any click or anything. It just pushes until it stops. But otherwise, this thing is really, really great. Of course, a con is it doesn't have any image stabilization, and you can see how the camera is pointing down slightly at a couple degrees. So you're going to get more of a slightly tilted down to the ground shot. I don't know if that bothers you or not. But the follow me mode worked fairly well. You know, this isn't a high accuracy GPS. This is like a budget little GPS quad. But the follow me worked fairly well. You could see how after a while I was getting more towards the edge of the screen, and then I had to reassess. I had to restart the follow me, and it centered on me again. So you're gonna have little quirks like that. And then in that follow me, it did have that same little glitch that the standard version has, where it'll be following you and then it will just do like one of these once in a while. I'm not sure what it's doing, but you'll see that on the video as well. Anyway guys, I hope you like that review. Don't forget, I will be doing the same kinds of long range and double battery flights with this one as I did with the first version, the standard version. So anxious to see how this one does without changing anything in the antennas and see what kind of range we can get. I have no doubt it's going to be pretty good. So stay tuned for that video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I do a lot of videos like this, and I think you'll like it. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.